José Manuel Fuente, El Tarangu, has been one of the best climbers in the history of cycling. Not even his family and friends remember where his nickname comes from. Born in Limanes, Oviedo, the Asturian cyclist didn't have a very long career due to heart disease that precipitated his retirement after only 5 years as a professional. However, during those few years, he left such a big mark within the world of cycling that no one who has enjoyed the great cycling of the 70s can forget. It was his rivalry with Ocaña that took cycling in Spain to another dimension. His struggles in the Tour, and above all, in the Vuelta, lifted a whole country. His extraordinary battles against Belgian champion Eddy Merckx were legendary. The Belgian himself has stated on many occasions that El Tarangu was his greatest rival in the mountains, and the rider who made him suffer the most. Over time, a friendship arose between the two legends. The Asturian cyclist showed from a young age his great capacity for the ascent. He entered the world of two wheels by pure chance, since he simply accompanied a friend to a race, and from that day on, he didn't miss any race. With a strong and obstinate character, a big head as they call him in his land, his impetus made him stand out from his first races, achieving great results in his youth and amateur stages, making it clear that upwards he was an out of series. After a year as a professional in the Carpi team, Fuente signed with the powerful CAS team, and in 1971 he began a career full of successes, victories, incredible duels in the mountains of Giro, Tour and Vuelta, and the unrepeatable story of one of the best climbers of all time. Fuente arrived at the 1974 Vuelta a España, the first of the 3 great tours of the calendar. And remember that before 1995, the Vuelta a España was disputed during the spring, April and May, as a mature cyclist with great experience and with many successes on his back. His greatest achievement was the final victory in the 71 Vuelta a España, and achieved many stage victories in Vuelta, Giro, and Tour de France. In 73, he joined Ocaña and Thevenet in 3rd place on the podium in Paris. And that 1974 was presented for El Tarangu as the year of the assault on the Tour de France. However, first, he was going to settle accounts with Ocaña in a historic Vuelta a España. A Vuelta a España that started in Almeria with a stage of 4 kilometers. There were, among others, the powerful French team BIC with Luis Ocaña, Balague, Agostinho and Johny Shleck, Frank and Andy's father. Another of these strongest teams was CAS, captained by Txomin Perurena, Antonio González Linares and Fuente. Another of the great favorites to win the race militated in the Peugeot team. It was the Frenchman Thevenet, who, no doubt, intended to spoil the Spaniards' party. With great expectations, the 1974 Vuelta a España began. The first days of competition were spent through southern Spain. The main protagonist was the rider of CAS team, Txomin Perurena, who managed to dress as leader during 5 stages in which he won 2 victories. After 9 days and a team trial at the Jarama circuit with several setbacks, such as the almost complete fall of La Casera team of Pedro Torres, who had to leave, the mountain arrived. El Tarangu wasn't one of the cyclists they expected. He attacked in Cotos, won the Guadarrama stage alone ahead of Ocaña, Lassa, and Thevenet, and placed second in the general classification, 6 seconds behind the still leader Perurena. The Spaniard dedicated his victory to the cyclists of La Casera team. For others, it was merely the first warning. Fuente got the leader's jersey a day later in the time trial of Los Angeles de San Rafael. Only 5 kilometers, but of continuous ascent, where Perurena gave up. The rider from Oviedo was beginning to get on track for his second Vuelta a España. 2 days later, the Spaniard would live one of the most glorious days of his career. The 12th stage departed from León and ended in Alto del Naranco, an emblematic summit of the Vuelta a España, which, although it's lost its prominence in recent times, has always been a classic stage finish in the Spanish round. El Tarangu was at home, and with the permission of his partner Lassa, Luis Ocaña, who occupied the 3rd place, and the Frenchman Thevenet, he was prepared to be a prophet in his land. That climb that so many times ascended when he was a child was going to see now how the man reached glory with his native Oviedo encouraging him and taking him towards history. All his friends, family, neighbors, etc., they went to the ramps of Monte Naranco. More than 50,000 people wanted that day to support their great idol. The stage didn't start well for the leader. He suffered a fall during the dangerous descent to El Padrón. Once Fuente was recovered, the cast strategy jumped through the air with the escape of the day, composed of 8 cyclists, where Agostinho, and above all, Lassa, second at that time in the general classification, stood out. They came to have more than 4 minutes of advantage, which was a danger for the leadership of Fuente. And it was at this moment when El Tarangu exhibited all the class, race, and courage that only a great champion carries within him. He attacked in the descent of Alto de Pajares, along with his cast teammate Antonio Menendez. They left Ocaña behind and caught up with the front group at the height of Mieres. Ocaña, the big team rider, had a horrible day in which he had to endure multiple insults completely out of place due to his rivalry with Fuente. With the situation under control, Ka's team decided not to stop. With the rhythm of Menendez, the duo arrived alone at the foot of Mount Naranco. Menendez gave everything during the first part of the ascent to the Church of Santa Maria del Naranco, where the inferno ramps began, spurred on by a boiling audience and Fuente that encouraged him to endure and take the triumph. It couldn't be, and the Spaniard alone finished during the last 2 kilometers of ascent a glorious day before his audience, crowned as the best rider of the 1974 Vuelta a España, with a legendary feat written in golden letters in the history of La Vuelta. El Tarangu entered the finish line by raising his left leg, a gesture that many interpreted as arrogance, but in reality, he was dedicating the victory to his surgeon, who had operated on that knee months before. Thank you very much for having come this far. If you liked the video, subscribe and click like. And if you want to continue enjoying the best cyclists in history, don't miss this.